Hey everyone, welcome back to The Road to Superman. This is the web series where we talk all about the latest updates and rumours regarding the DCU Superman movie. This is episode 71, and today we have a really interesting topic of discussion. It's what people are talking about a lot recently, and unfortunately isn't really something fans should be worrying about. However, as it is such an important part of modern day superhero movies, we are talking about it today. Discussing Film put out an article predicting the top 10 biggest box office films of 2025, and Superman is fortunately on the list. They state, despite being smudged right in the smack middle of Jurassic World and Fantastic Four, I think Superman will be propelled by enough energy to end up as a box office hit. Warner Brothers is savvy enough to build a compelling marketing campaign, rekindling general audiences' love for Superman in the process. Additionally, James Gunn is more than qualified to win over the die-hard DC fans and critics alike. Superman will probably earn somewhere between $600 and $700 million, a solid start for the new DCU. And so this statement by Discussing Film has ruffled a few feathers in the DC fandom, some stating that that is too much to expect for the first movie in a rebooted franchise, and others stating that is not good enough for a Superman movie, and it feels like we have two biases going on here. On one side, you have fans who are giving it a very low ceiling, so when it hits it quite easily, then they can say it's a big success, and we have other fans giving it a very high floor, so when it can't even reach that, then they can say it was a huge flop. So today we need to weed out those biased predictions and expectations to work out what a fair and realistic box office outcome for the Superman movie should and will be. So without further ado, let's get into the box office. So Discussing Film predicts the Superman movie will probably earn somewhere between $600 and $700 million, and I have to agree. I think based on the clear interest in the movie, the proven track record Gunn has had at the box office, and the state of the superhero franchise right now, I think the movie will make around the $700 million mark. But that's what I think it will make. What do I think is the bare minimum it should make to be classed as a success? Well, I've had multiple people say to me that if it makes $500 million, then that is a success, and I disagree. No one knows the actual budget for the movie yet, as the rumored $300 million budget was debunked by Gunn, so right now all we have is guesswork, but I imagine it's around the $180 million mark, and movies have to tend to make around 2.5 times that amount to break even, meaning if the budget was even $200 million, then the movie would need to make around $500 million to break even. So fans saying making $500 million as a success is simply not good enough in my opinion. For that budget, the superhero used, and the director who created it, this movie needs to make $600 million minimum in my opinion. Some are comparing this to Man of Steel in 2013, which made around $670 million, and are saying if it doesn't make more than that, then it's a failure, but I would also have to disagree with that. They argue that with inflation, the movie would have earned around $900 million in 2025, but the movie would have also had a budget of around $300 million as well. Not only that, but think about the superhero movies that released in that era of superheroes. The Avengers, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Dark Knight Rises, Iron Man 3, all major financial and critical successes. And if we focus just on DC, the Dark Knight trilogy gave DC a massive boost in their reputation, even though Green Lantern was poor. So when Man of Steel was released, superheroes were very popular, and the box office was consistently high and growing. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's the only reason the movie made money, because I think it was a phenomenal film. I'm just saying there were external factors that impacted its box office, so to not recognize them would be disingenuous. And now fast forward to the state of superhero films around Superman. From 2020 to 2023, Marvel had a lot of poor superhero films, but clawed it back with Deadpool and Wolverine in 2024. But DC in 2023 released 4 movies, and all 4 of them flopped. So Warner Brothers hasn't seen a DCEU movie make over $500 million since 2018. Even Joker 2 flopped in 2024 after the hugely successful Joker 1 one film. So I think for some to say the Superman movie has to make $1 billion to be a success, with DC's reputation and the current atmosphere surrounding the superhero genre, is kind of showing a bit of potential bias. Not only that, but Superman is competing with two giants in July. On one side, Jurassic World, and on the other, Fantastic Four. This will also impact the box office. I think if some are saying it needs to make $900 million plus as the bare minimum, then like I said, a bias might be showing. I get that previous DC movies that you loved were bashed by some fans for not making a certain amount of money, but other than being petty, there is no logical reason to use that argument today. Not only that, but to those of you saying it should make $500 million as a maximum and be a success, then a bias might be showing as well. I know you want this film to be a success, so lowering the expectation might help that, but we need to be realistic and fair. You have to get a balance. Yes, it is Superman, and yes, the director has made some very financially successful films for Marvel, so it needs to make a decent amount of money. But we're also in a time with superhero films where the reputation is far weaker than it was 10 years ago, especially DC's, so I think it doesn't need to hit the $1 billion mark as a minimum to be successful. So I believe to be classed as a success, the Superman movie needs to earn at a minimum $600 million at the box office and have mostly positive reviews from the general audience and DC fans. I don't care about critics, never have, never will. The general audience and fans are the ones that these films are made for and are the majority of the audience, so they are the ones I focus on. So it has to be a minimum of $600 million at the box office as well as good reviews. But it needs to be both to be a great step forward for DC. One or the other will cause different issues for the studio. If you're having good reviews but low box office, then that would imply the same issues the DCEU had. The majority of the general audience still doesn't trust DC, and the movie still isn't appealing to them, meaning the only people watching the film are DC fans. And that would show that the studio hasn't really made any progress from the old regime. If the box office is high but the reviews are mixed or low, then I would argue that is a bit better but not by much, because at least you're making more money. But with reviews being mixed to low but with high box office, then this could imply that more people are interested in DC's biggest heroes, but the movie itself wasn't as good as they had hoped, and this causes a different issue for DC. The general audience have turned up to watch a DC movie, but it was only due to it being about one of the biggest DC characters, meaning whilst you earn more money, more people watch your film and didn't like it, creating a larger bad reputation for DC. And combining that with the DCU having many projects planned for smaller and unknown heroes, can they really expect them to make much money at all if general audiences only turn up for the biggest characters? Now, these are just all hypotheticals, but I think this explains why the movie has to have both $600 million minimum box office and mostly positive reviews. Low box office but good reviews would reflect the same issues the DCEU had, and high box office but low reviews would create new issues for the studio. It has to be both to be a success for DC, and I have a feeling it will get both. Gunn's superhero movies tend to always be loved by the majority of the audience, and with Superman being such an iconic hero, I feel not even DC's poor reputation could hurt this movie too much. But what I think will have an impact on it is the competition. Jurassic World and Fantastic Four are huge movies, and I think both could restrict the film from reaching $900 million plus, which is why I think the film will earn around the $700 million mark. Now, make sure to let me know your thoughts on my box office prediction breakdown in the comments below, and let me know your own predictions and expectations as well. But that is all for today's episode of The Road to Superman. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss an episode. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!